Hello, everybody, and welcome to our day early comics review video. I'm Jason.
I'm Andy.
And we're with Infinity Flux Comics out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, where every Monday after the comics have been delivered to our shop and we finish bagging and boarding them, Andy and I divide them up, and each of us read 10 of the comics we're most looking forward to, 10 of the ones that we think most people want to hear more about. And we do what we consider spoiler light reviews. So pretty much we're going to tell you major reasons you might want these books, like first appearances, major deaths, stuff like that. But even more so, especially with the issue number ones, we're going to tell you who the creators are. We're going to tell you what it's about, more in depth in the solicitations. We're going to tell you about the art style. We're going to try to connect the people who like a certain comic with that comic. We're going to prepare you for when you go into your comic store, whatever the day of the week you go in is. So before we get started, I wanted to mention we have another show that we hosted right before this one is our top 10 quick picks. It's our quick show. We do it in about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So if you don't have time to watch our longer show where we spend 2 to 3 minutes per book, which over 20 books that stretches out a bit.
It does add up.
Check out that show. Also, if you want to check these books out or even purchase any of them, you can go to our website at infinityflux.net, where it is so easy. You can sign up for subscriptions to these books for free. You can purchase just whatever covers you want, or you can just buy a book or two. Anything you buy helps us out. So that's at infinityflux.net. All right, so Andy, what are you starting with today?
Big one this week. A contest winner, Superboy, Man of Tomorrow. So this was DC's second round robin style competition winner. And it is focused on Connor Kent, Superboy, the clone of Kal-El Superman and Lex Luthor. So this was really fun. The last names of the writers are Porter and Lindsay. I don't recognize the names right off, but it is a really pretty book, and I thought it was a lot of fun. So Connor is, this takes place before Action Comics 1051, so kind of right before the kind of dawn of the new DC stuff. And Connor is in Metropolis with all of the rest of his kind of super family, Supergirl, Jonathan, all the twins, all of that. And he's trying to do a mission or trying to save people, but there's so many super people around, they're kind of just doing it for him. And he really feels like, I want to prove myself and kind of carve out my own name, but there's too many of us here. We don't need this many super people.
He doesn't want to be a third wheel superhero to a city.
So he decides, I'm going to go to the Fortress of Solitude, talk to Keelix, and find out, is there anywhere on the Earth that needs a Superman? Well, turns out pretty much the whole Earth is covered. You got the Titans, you've got the Young Justice, you got everything. So he starts looking even wider into the universe. And that's where our story leads, is he is going to, I'm not sure if he's going to planet hop or stay on this one individual planet, but he does find a distress signal coming from space that he is going to go help. But of course, with anything like this, when he shows up, the people don't necessarily want him there. It's very fun. It's got that kind of like light, young sense of humor with Connor, but it does allude to a lot of his past as well, all the different iterations. He's actually one of the ones that kind of survived through all the different versions. Remember, he's like pre-crisis version of Superboy, so he's still got all of this history attached to him. And the other thing I'll say about this is heavily influenced by Dragon Ball Z. So much so that some of the environments, if you are a fan of the Dragon Ball universe, you will kind of recognize some planet and shapes and themes in this, which I really enjoyed. I thought it was a fun touch, high-powered fighting, a lot of energy beams, all of that. So this is just a mini-series, and I highly recommend Superboy.
Does he have that jacket and that haircut?
He does.
Awesome.
He has not left the 90s behind.
I kind of want that jacket.
I'm sure someone out there has made one for a good price. We also have some great variants for it. This is your Combatus variant, which he's your artist on Gargoyles right now. We also have, of course, a blank sketch variant to draw your own Superboy. We've got this is the Quinones variant. This one's really fun, especially the little homage to the Gorillaz album in the corner, but using Teen Titans Go characters as the Gorillas.
That's awesome.
Very fitting.
Yeah.
And
the
then
side profiles.
Yeah, and then we also have a 1 in 25 Rivas variant that we're selling to our customers for $20.
Okay, maybe one of the bigger Marvel books this week. It is Warlock Rebirth #1. This is a new mini series. I think it's a 6-issue mini series, 5 or 6 issues by the Rons. That is Ron Mars and Ron Lim. If you watched our short show, I showed that this had a first appearance that I think is pretty interesting. So this has the first appearance of Eve Warlock. So yes, think about it. Adam Warlock, Eve Warlock, which I know that can sound kind of, I don't know, like, it can sound a little corny.
Yeah.
But if you consider Adam Warlock's past, it makes a lot of sense. He was scientifically, like, genetically made to be this perfect specimen. He was kind of created to be a bit of like a godlike man. And from there, he was imbued by the Infinity Stones to be even more godlike. So it kind of makes sense that if he is going to have a counterpart, that, why wouldn't they go further into the Adam and Eve thing?
Yeah.
So Eve Warlock's first appearance has a full page, and that is her first. She's saying her name. I mean, it's one of those really iconic, wow, you're there, you're an important thing. But let me back up and tell you a little bit more about this. So it actually starts out with Genis-Vell. That is the son of Mar-Vell. And he's arrived on Earth wanting to find out about his father and his past. He wants to talk with Adam Warlock. And he was put onto this by Silver Surfer a little while back. Well, he runs into members of the Infinity Watch. Yes, they're still around. They just don't really hang out much together. They're on other teams. You see who he runs into on the cover right here. It's Pip and it's Gamora. Well, anyhow, he gets to meet Adam, and that is where you'll have to read the issue to see what happens. But this Eve Warlock character comes into play. Yes, there is a cocoon. No, not everything is answered, but I will say she is powerful. She kicks a lot of butt, and you may want to see what happens to the soul gem by the end of this issue. Which I'll say the soul gem in this is green. They changed it to orange later with the once the movies came out to match the movies. I think the Rons have said no. We're making it green like the classic way it's supposed to be. Because
stands out a little bit more.
It would be the time gem as per the Marvel movies.
Yeah.
Anyway, I digress. I could go on and on and on. I love all the Infinity stuff ever since Infinity Gauntlet. The only thing this book is missing is Jim Starlin.
Oh yeah.
Of course. We got some cool variants to show you here. Here is the Davis variant. This is just a good first issue for this. I quite enjoyed it, and looking forward to finding out everything about this Eve Warlock character. Here is the Ron Lim Howard the Duck variant. Lim also did the main cover as well and is the interior artist. And then here is the Alex Ross Timeless. Yep, Thanos on the book. That makes sense. Some of the villains on the books have made more sense than others, And then here is the 1 in 25 Chiung variant that we're selling for $25 while we have it in stock.
Getting people prepared for Adam Warlock being in Guardians 3.
Right.
Plus, I think he's a great character, and I'm glad that they're using him. I hope even after the movie, he stays around as a more active role in the Marvel Universe.
One of their very few people who have wielded the gauntlet, and one of the only ones who wielded it and then turned it over.
Yeah.
They didn't have to fight him for it.
Next up, I have She-Hulk. This is She-Hulk issue number 12. But more importantly, it's She-Hulk issue 175. So, we like to celebrate our quarterly numbers when we hit them. 25, 50, 75, even up into 175. So this does continue the story that's been going on in She-Hulk with all the stuff going on with Jack of Hearts. Now that he's got part of his power back, he's still very hesitant about interacting with the world, considering how powerful he is, uh, and his interactions with She-Hulk. It's a really fun first story. We do learn a bit more about that villain that got introduced in the previous issue that actually punched She-Hulk out of the Baxter building. She runs into him again. That's all really fun. But since this is a big landmark issue, there is a backup story that is by the same writer, Rainbow Rowell, and the art is done by Joe Quinones, who did a Superboy cover. And in that one, it's very fun. So She-Hulk is going to try and start a book club. So she invites all of her friends. You have Janet Van Dyne, Patsy Walker, Sue Storm, Misty Knight, Colleen Wing, and even the villain of Volcana, who all of the heroes, when she walks in, all go to hit her and they're like, no, she's good. She doesn't have any warrants out for her currently. So they're trying to have this book club, but it doesn't go quite as to plan. But there's actually more to it than just kind of a goofy romp. It kind of has to do with She-Hulk and her relationship with Janet Van Dyne and how Janet's really been supporting her as she's been kind of financially low, letting her stay in her place, all of that. And She-Hulk kind of feels like she's getting handheld through a lot of this. It's a very nice story. So I thought this was a really fun issue. I'm glad it's not just like a $9.99 giant issue. It didn't need to be that, but it was a very solid issue with a fun backup story. So of course it's our Jen Bartel A cover.
Do they reveal what book the book club decides to read?
Yes, they do. It's kind of a it feels like a young adult vampire type book. It's pretty funny. Everyone's opinions on the book and how the characters.
So it's like a Twilight clone.
It's kind of a Twilight or City of Bones or something like that. But there is a surprise appearance at the very end of another Avengers character who has read the book, whereas a lot of the people who got hers have not even read the book.
I have an idea who that might be.
We had this beautiful Patrick Gleason cover, kind of homaging that classic Hulk cover with the crumbling title. We have this very nice Casa Grande variant. This almost looks like it connects because there's a little bit of something on either side of it, but I'm not sure. Another really great variant. We also have this Lee variant with her getting ready to throw down and stretching.
Okay, so also out this week is a one-shot, sort of like no other. It is DC Silent Tales. This is all done by Gustavo Duarte. He is the person who did the cover here. So this is a good example of the interior art. And as you can expect, they are silent tales. There are no words in this comic at all, which is interesting to see the artistry of trying to tell little tales without any word balloons or any thought balloons or any captioning at all. You have 6 stories in this. It's definitely a bit oversized, but without any words. It is quicker to read it if you choose that way, to glance through. But I suggest you take your time. These stories, I call them light humored. And what I mean by that, it doesn't mean that there is not much humor. All the stories are full of humor. It's more light humor in the way that it's not dark humor, it's not sick humor. It's something you could laugh at with another person and not feel like, you have to have a certain slant on humor to get it. It's sort of that timeless silent movie style humor. So Harley's in a story. Where does she get her mallets? Joker, he's in a story where he's at an art gallery up to no good, and Batman and Commissioner have to watch him, and he's definitely up to no good. There's a story with Cyborg where he's just trying to relax, listen to some old school hip hop on vinyl. But, of course, that's not going to go down easily. There's a Zatanna story where she gets a pet rabbit. There is a Lobo story where he takes on Nazi vampires. And the last one is a Superman story. It has to do with where do his dirtied outfits go and what becomes of them with all the crazy things he fights. So that's a little snippet of all 6 silent tales you will find in this book. There is a variant for it. Here is the Moon variant for DC Silent Tales. And again, this is just a one-shot, so it's a one and done comic.
I'd imagine a lot of Superman's outfits are like irradiated and
They get into that
like
for sure.
cursed or whatever happens to
Yep,
it.
they definitely get into that.
Okay, next up, there's a few Star Wars books this week. I'm spreading them out, but starting off with one of my favorite 3-issue Star Wars stories I've read in a while. This is the third part of Star Wars Yoda. This is issue number 6 of the end of the second 3-issue story that deals with kind of what there's a Wookiee Padawan that's been having visions, and what did the Jedi think about visions? Should you act on them? Dooku has his advice on it. It's just really good. And finally, Yoda steps in to kind of clear the air between some infighting between the younglings in the Jedi Temple. It was really good. It actually has a pretty sad ending to it, but I'm really looking forward to the next issue as well because it is the Yoda versus General Grievous, where it says they're fighting to the death, even though we know how both of them die and it's not to do with either of them. So looking forward to that. But if you haven't read Yoda, I wouldn't even say you have to find the first 3 issues. If you find 4, 5, and 6, I highly recommend those 3 issues. Also this week we've got some big variants for this. First we have this Lee Garbett variant that's really fun, meditating Yoda, clasping toes. And probably one of the biggest variants of the week. This is the 1 in 25 Okazaki variant. It's really hot right now. We are selling this to our customers for $100.
Yoda's just looking, usually he's so peaceful, and in that he's tense,
Yeah.
he's showing off the brain
I was
muscles.
about to say, yeah,
the mind
the
muscles.
wrinkles are intense. He's really focusing.
Yep. Okay, so I read a new ongoing Image comic called Terrorwar. It is by writer Salomon, or I'm sorry, it is by writer Saladin Ahmed, who of course was writing Miles Morales
Yep.
the previous series, with art by Dave Acosta. And this is a sci-fi horror book, which is pretty interesting. I was talking about how you often don't see sci-fi horror outside of stuff like Alien.
Mm-hmm.
This is different, okay? So set in the future, I can't tell if it's dystopian, but our main character has grown up in sort of the poor part of the future.
Mm-hmm.
He literally calls it the hood. And so what is happening is there are these creatures called terrors that appear, and they are people's worst nightmares taking physical form. This isn't sort of a dream thing. I mean, these things are huge, terrifying, and they go after the person who's scared of them and they kill them.
That's
Like you see some death right
is
up
the
front in this
worst
comic.
worst thing that could ever happen to
Well,
you.
even worse than that, traditional weapons don't affect these things. They almost are like imaginary creatures in physical form. So there are some people who can affect them though, and our main character you see on the front, he is one of them. They are called terror fighters, and they happen to have enough psychic power that they can create what he calls mind bullets that will affect these creatures of imagination as they terrorize the real world. So you get to see a few of these creatures, you get to learn our new character is part of a team. They don't consider themselves heroes. They are contractors. They are a group that does it for money. And that means that they're not the only ones. So there is another team that looks like there's going to be a competition over money. So real interesting world. The art style I liked a lot. I have to say the art style is maybe my favorite part because it ranges from that dark gritty sci-fi where he's taking a shower. That's not a normal looking shower. Like I can't imagine how much creativity it takes to do a sci-fi tale in a comic and try to make everything look a little different.
Yeah.
The buildings look different. The tram he's on looks different. But then also you have to do the weird terror monsters.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought the art was honestly one of my favorite parts, as much as the writing was great as well. So that is what's going on in Terrorwar #1, and we have this variant. Here is the Johnson variant for that issue.
Next up for me, Superman #3. So I am loving this current Superman run. This issue continues a lot of fun and story building moments as he's been dealing with this kind of parasite outbreak of his classic villain, Parasite. But this time it's not one big parasite, it's a bunch of tiny ones, even microscopic level parasites. How does Superman fight this? And what happens when they start to infect Lois and Perry and Jimmy and all the people around him? And even start to get inside of Superman. So in this, Superman has been infected by Parasite, but there's still enough of Superman that is able to fight it off to try and work out how to beat this. Really fun kind of first half to the story. Really deals with the Parasite stuff. It wraps that up for the most part, but the ending, I really like how Joshua Williamson writing this. It really comes back to some of the characters that were set up in the first issue, and we find out a little bit more about this instead of LexCorp, SuperCorp, and what is Lex Luthor's plan with this, and how does Superman feel about it? And does he even want to be a part of it? It's got his branding on it. It's all very interesting. I think the Superman and Lex Luthor stuff they're building up is going to be really big in the future because Lex looks like he's doing good, but there's no way that that man can ever do good.
So that's the question. Can a writer be so good and do it for so long that he makes the reader trust Lex Luthor?
Yep. That's a really you're constantly like, what is his angle? But you never see one. You're like, it just looks like he's being good. So fascinating. I can't wait to read more of this. So that is Superman #3, Night of the Parasite. We also have some great variants for this one. We have this very classic Steve Rude variant, very Fleischer animation, fighting those just like
Yeah.
classic 40s, 50s robots. We have this David Nakayama cover. That really kind of explains the series. Is like Superman's like, I don't want to be next to you, but I've got to figure out what's going on. We have this Leah Noble variant with Lois under the influence of Parasite.
I understand that one now. Like when it was Solicit, I was like, Lois is just looking kind of like a zombie.
Yep, that's exactly why. We also have this also pretty classic Matina cover with Clark and his classic cap. And then we also have this 1 in 25 Huang variant that we're selling for $20. Just giant koi fish do not appear in this, but I'm very intrigued by what that means.
Okay, so I read Avengers Assemble Omega. This is the finale. This is the last of Jason Aaron's 5-year run on Avengers, and this is the end of this build-up he's been doing for a year straight. You have the Omni Avengers going up against Mephisto and the multiversal Masters of Evil. A lot of it was resolved in the lead up to this, but it was not all resolved. There is plenty of action in this. This is like a triple-sized issue. You could tell Marvel just kind of handed him the keys of the kingdom, like, okay, you've put in your time. You can go ahead and end
Yeah.
this however you want. So I can't go over all the stuff in this. There's too much, but you get to find out the ultimate fates of not ultimate fates, but the current fates after all the stuff of what's his name? The Avenger Prime, of course. You get to find out the fate of Avenger Prime, Namor, Mephisto, Starbrand. A lot with Starbrand and Phoenix in that, and who they are and who they are to each other and the universe. So just if you've been reading all this stuff, you're gonna see what I mean. There's too much to say on this one. Too much. You had to have already been reading
I was
it.
about to say this would be a very hard one for someone just to pick up
Yeah.
and not have been reading a
For
year's worth
sure,
of
for sure.
Avengers.
The one page of catch up that Marvel does at the beginning does not do the whole thing justice. It does pass the torch to Jed McKay's Avengers series in the end as well, just a little bit. So look for that. Jed McKay is starting up his new Avengers series, and this
In about a
plot
month.
line is done.
Mhm.
This really kind of, it doesn't leave him with stuff he's got to resolve.
Yeah.
It's over. And so we have this Alex Ross Galactus
Love that.
variant for it.
Couldn't even fit all of Galactus on there, just his face.
Yep.
Okay, next up, I have Amazing Spider-Man number 24. One issue away from what they're calling is like the most heartbreaking issue of Amazing Spider-Man with number 25. But I can kind of get a hint about what it's going to be with issue 24. So, in the last one, we saw what happened when Peter came back from that alternate dimension where he didn't intend to leave Mary Jane behind, but she kind of switched their spots. So Peter got flung back, and now he is trying to work his way to go save her in this kind of very dark, twisted world that he left her in. So in this, he goes to the Fantastic Four, and no one's willing to help Peter. They all want to, like, we'll sit down and we got to talk about this. But Peter knows that time works different there. And every kind of second that passes, it's longer there, and he worries how long he's going to be gone from it. So Peter does some pretty rough stuff to be able to compile the suit you see on the cover that he's going to use to go to that other dimension, using the help of his longtime rival Norman Osborn. When you got to do something that's kind of a little shady, you don't want to have to go through the authorities or anything, he goes to Norman Osborn. And what I do like about this issue is it kind of sets up, I'm going to be going back to that universe, and he does. Now, what he finds there, you'll have to read to find out, but I wouldn't say a lot of questions are answered about, Mary Jane and the guy she's been with and the family and all that, but you do get more of that, and I feel like things are starting to clear up. I think they'll be completely cleared up, at least for the most part, in the next issue. So that is Amazing Spider-Man number 24. Peter does get a pretty cool giant space multi-dimension spider suit in that. We also have the Alex Ross Timeless variant with Vulture.
Okay, I read Nightwing issue 103 by the regular team of Tom Taylor and Travis Moore. And in this one, the Titans team has split into two parts. The first part of them goes into hell to try to fight Neron the demon, who is trying to take this little girl they've been protecting. And the other half of the team, which is Donna Troy and Starfire and Batgirl, they try to teach the girl how to fight because she has powers, and she's a little girl, and they're like, we're not just going to protect you, we're going to teach you how to like fight people. So I really like that part. However, the hell part has some great moments too. For instance, Beast Boy gets to turn into a normal, like a beast that would be commonly found in hell. And one part that's really funny is Cyborg kind of hacks into the internet of hell, and he hates it, and he describes what it's like.
Oh gosh.
So a lot of funny parts to this issue as well. So another great issue of Nightwing, and here we have some variants for it. We have the Campbell variant. There is one other thing I forgot to mention. Nightwing, in the end of this, Neron offers him something to try to tempt him into helping him, and it's something he doesn't like. It's not a question. He kind of gives him something that is going to tempt him next issue, and I'm really waiting to see how this turns out. So I forgot to mention that. Here is the Moore variant.
Very classy.
Yes. Raven's dress. Her dress is my favorite part. Here is the Scott variant. And then we have the 1 in 25 Georgiev variant. We're selling for $20 while it lasts. And while we're on the Bat family, I just wanted to mention that Batman number 357, the blank one, has gone back to second print. So when they came out with the facsimile for this, it was one of the first time they did variants. They had a foil one, they had a blank one. No one knew how it would do. The blank ones did great because everyone wanted these because convention season.
Yep.
Have your favorite person draw on this. So just want to let you know the second prints of this blank variant are out this week as well.
Next up, I've got Star Wars Santa Starros number 3. So you see her riding a Rancor there on the cover. I I don't know if that exactly happens, but we get right up to the moment where that's probably gonna happen. So in this one, she has met up with Deva Lumpop, who has been this character that's spanned all the way from the High Republic to modern, who's kind of a outlaw bounty hunter. She's been around so long, she's kind of got every job. Like she comes into this one, and they're at this big swanky party, and Sana says, "Do all these people work for you?" And Deva says, "They do, but they don't all know it yet." Like she's so big that people work for her and don't even know it. But in this, Sana needs help with something from Deva, and but to do that, she's got to help her on a mission, and that mission is to steal a Rancor from basically a galactic zoo. Very fun. It feels kind of uh it's not like a dark, depressing zoo. It almost looks like Animal Kingdom, but just with Star Wars animals everywhere. And they have to do some pretty horrible things, gross things, to get a Rancor to follow them and stuff. So very fun issue. It's kind of a little sidetrack from the main story that's going on with Sana's family, but it's some much appreciated, lighthearted action adventure thrown in there. So that is Star Wars Santa Starros number 3. And we also have a Jen Bartel variant for that one as well.
Okay, so I read the first issue of a new 4-issue miniseries from Dark Horse called All Eight Eyes. This is from writer Steve Fox with art by Peter Kowalski. And I think the cover really shows off what this is about. If you want a good villain, how about just giant spiders?
It's great.
Spiders are one of the scariest things. I was at the zoo a few weeks ago, and you could get right up to where the spiders are because they're in the enclosure with glass. They're one of the creatures, the closer you get to them, the more you will feel a primal fear in you. So anyhow, this follows a character. He's sort of a young, maybe late teens, early 20s, punky looking character, a lot of piercings and all. And he's just gotten kicked out, at least temporarily, from where he's living because he's kind of broke. Well, he happens to come across this tough looking, possibly homeless man who's attacking something with a hammer, and he thinks that he's up to no good. Well, it turns out it's a giant spider. So he learns from the homeless guy that these giant spiders have maybe been around for a long time, and possibly they have been preying on humans for who knows how long. So the homeless man kind of makes him the blue pill, red pill offer. Like you can go back to your life, go take a week and think about it. Otherwise, meet me back here in a week. Well, he can't get it off his mind. He meets him back there in a week, and they start the training on how they're gonna fight these creatures, find these creatures. They're both a lot more brave than I. Say that. I mean, I would probably go right to the police,
Yeah.
or an exterminator, or a hybrid of the two. So the art is very dark and spooky. So if that sounds like it's up your speed, you might want to check out All Eight Eyes number 1. And here is the variant. This is the James Stocco variant. Stocco's got a great style for that.
Yeah, his is very like B movie.
Yes.
Yeah, really cool. Okay, next up, I have Batman Superman World's Finest. This is issue number 14. So we're still dealing with what happened the last one. Simon Stagg, who is the father of Metamorpho's girlfriend, has been killed, and it looks like all the signs are pointing to Bruce Wayne. Well, at least that's what the newspaper says. And that article was written by Clark Kent. So really funny. It begins with a great discussion between Clark and Bruce, where Bruce is like, "How could you do that to me?" And Clark's like, "As Superman, I know you didn't do it. But as Clark Kent, all the facts are pointing towards you. So I couldn't write an article knowing what Superman knows." It's very like, he's got a point, but it's really bad. But of course, Bruce Wayne's a billionaire. He can't stay in cuffs forever. He quickly gets out of them. But some strange occurrences start happening, like Oliver Queen contacts Bruce Wayne and asks if he can go in on him on a Wayne Tech AI program. And this strikes Bruce Wayne very odd because he's like, I don't even think Oliver Queen has a cell phone. Why is he concerned with this tech? But it seems like billionaires everywhere are starting to act weirder than normal. Also, Superman and Robin team up because Bruce can't go. He's kind of under house arrest. Superman and Robin team up to go find Metamorpho and try and prove his innocence, even though it's looking like maybe it was him. It's a really fun mystery, kind of a whodunit that involves a lot of DC's like super scientists and creators and inventors, like maybe the Metal Men and stuff like that. So really fun issue. Just continues to be so great, so classic feeling. Every time I describe this book to somebody, I say it's like reading a '70s DC book, but with just more modern art and storytelling methods. But you still get that light-hearted, fun action adventure that you do from those old books. So that is the A cover for it. And then we also have this uh Acuna variant. Oh, and there is possibly the first appearance of a new villain in the end, or a form of a villain that is different. It doesn't have a name, it doesn't have anything, just what it's implied is pretty interesting, but very cool design.
Okay, so I read Hellcat issue number 2. This is the miniseries by Christopher Cantwell with art by Alex Linz. So, for those of you who read issue number 1, it was a really intriguing first issue where it's set up that Hellcat, there's a recent boyfriend she's been seeing, and he ends up murdered in a very gruesome way. She has very hazy memories of that time. She's either lost some time or lost some memories. She's a major suspect, even though he was her boyfriend, and he had previously been the boyfriend of Hetty, one of Patsy Walker's old time friends slash rivals. And then, sort of towards the end, she discovered one of the things that led her to think that Sleepwalker, yes, Rick Sheridan Sleepwalker might have been around. They have a past. Rick Sheridan, he is secretly in love with Patsy Walker.
Oh no.
So it's this really layered mystery. Well, a lot more of that this issue. I really enjoyed reading this. Cantwell, he is doing a great superhero mystery that is going deep into the past of Patsy Walker, who has quite a past.
Yeah.
You have her mom who wrote about her in her, romance days, which, there were the old comics, the Patsy Walker comics. You have her father who kind of abandoned her, but then came back for a minute when she was 12 and left her with some mysterious words. You're wondering, does Sleepwalker and Rick Sheridan have something to do with this or not? Because they are in this issue quite a bit more. So just really cool mystery superhero writing. I'm enjoying this one a lot. So that's what's going on, at least as far as I can say,
Yeah.
in not too many words, with Hellcat issue number 2. And here is the Phil Noto classic variant.
I love those.
Yeah, Alex Linz is doing different art styles also
Mhm.
throughout the comic based on, what part of her past they're talking about. And then we have a Zulo cat variant.
Those are some tough cats, tough
Could
alley
you picture
cats.
Hellcat as a cat? How could anyone have imagined that?
Whoa. It'd be funny if they made her another animal. Just ran like dog. Okay, next up I have Hallows Eve, issue number 2. It feels like a while since we've got issue number 1. Uh, but once I started reading it, all came back to me. So in the last one, Hallows Eve, as she was attempting to steal some money, just not she shouldn't be stealing it, but it's not because she's a super criminal. It was because she wants to start a new life and just get away from everything. So she shouldn't have done it, but she's not being, for some master plan that she has. But in doing so, she put on the werewolf mask to help her get out. And by fighting the security guard there, accidentally bit him, and now he got turned into a werewolf. So it's kind of like there was this big problem, but because wrong place, wrong time, wrong situation, she put on the wrong mask. She's now having to try to figure out a way of helping this werewolf guy and control her masks and what they do. So she actually goes to a former coworker that remembered her, and he's a scientist and is going to try to help her reverse this werewolf thing on this guy. But in doing that, she starts to try to figure out where this guy is, who he is. She puts on the cop mask that makes her a cop. Which, I mean, she's got a mask for everything. It's very funny, and kind of willingly, she is now kind of drawn into being a hero and trying to help people as she's being this cop. And something else happens where she is forced to put on the vampire mask, the mask she does not want to put on because she does get a thirst for blood. It's a very interesting. There's kind of the big like superhero parts of it, but the more interesting part is about her coming to terms with I've got these powers. What do they do? Uh, I've got to be careful which one I choose. And a little bit's explored about the origin of the masks as well. So, really liked Hallows Eve, #2. I hope this character stays around because I think there's a lot of stories to tell with her.
I'm sure Marvel will bring her back at least once a year.
Oh yeah, there's
Every
there's
October.
there's very holiday themed character, and then we also have a Ryan Brown variant.
Okay, so I read Flash issue number 797 by the usual team of Jeremy Adams and actually there's multiple artists on this one.
Yeah.
So I'll just say Jeremy Adams wrote this one as usual. And this was an interesting issue. It's a one-shot issue where Wally West kids, Jai and Ivy, they get pulled into Jai and Irie, sorry, and their friend Maxine, they get pulled into a portal, okay, sort of out of nowhere. And it turns out that there are some enemies from their future who want to try to stop them before they form a team called the Super Kids. So I'm saying this is first partial appearance of the Super Kids team. So what we know about it by the end of the issue is it's going to have 8 members. They're the first 3, but they run into 2 other members who were pulled in to this portal a different way and seemingly from a different time period. And the reason I say that it's because it is the Super Sons, Damian and John Kent. So, and John Kent is not, he's a kid. He is, you know, the way he was in the Super Son comics. So the 5 of them have to band up to take on this team of villains. It's 6 villains. Some of them are new versions of villains, you know. Some of them are mashups. Maybe 1 or 2 are brand new villains. I didn't look super deep into who each of these were, but it's kind of like a prequel to a new Super Kids team that isn't quite there yet.
Yeah.
That I think will get picked up and something will be done with in the future. And so that's the meat of what this issue is about: is who are they? Can they stop the villains? It's another just great issue, especially that it's sort of a one and done.
Yeah.
I very much enjoyed it.
So what happens if you're not old enough to join the Teen Titans? You got to create another team for kids.
For kids, yep. And then eventually there'll be the DC Muppet Baby team. So, all right, here are the variants. Here is the Montanez variant. For you sneakerheads who want to see what a Flash's boot looks like, can take that kind of running. And here is the Niculo variant. Oh, the wrong way. I always go the wrong way. The mirror in the camera confuses me.
Okay, next up I have Star Wars: The High Republic Adventures, the Nameless Terror #2 of 4. This is I feel like this one is quite spread out, but also I think this is almost like a premium book for Dark Horse. So it's got a cardstock, shiny cover. I think it's a little bit longer, and it's referred to as books in the issue rather than issues. It's like this was book 2 of 4. So I kind of feel like this is set aside as kind of a bigger thing than just your regular issue. Now this continues with Ty Yorick, the Jedi who is telling her droid the story of the Nameless, which are these kind of creatures that only affect people who have a connection to the Force, and just makes it the most horrible thing ever if they're in its presence. And so she's kind of telling a story about these new Jedi that are new to this series and their encounter with one. It's really fun. It's definitely a self-contained mini series, but I really enjoy it. I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes. And that's issue number 2. And it does not have a variant. That's another reason why I think it's kind of a special thing. Is it's just the one cover.
Okay, so I read a new issue number 1 from Mad Cave Studios. It is Exorcists Never Die. This is by Steve Orlando with art by Sebastian Perez. And what it's about are 2 main characters. They are combat exorcists. So they don't just sit back and throw holy water on you and say words. They fight demons. But they have a history together. Not only were they partners, but they were personally girlfriend and boyfriend until something happened to break them up. Okay, so we start out and they are having to reunite because there's a place called a hell scraper that has been erected that they have discovered. And so what it is the place, it looks like it's just one level, but it goes downward towards hell. And at the bottom, there is some evil, hellish auction that's about to happen with some relics. So they come together as 2, the only people that can stop this, even though they hate each other. And you get to see what sort of demons they have to go up against. They go down to the hell scraper a little bit. So this is an issue where you meet them, you learn a little bit about what broke them up, a little bit about why they don't like each other, and you get to see what a combat exorcist can do. So that is sort of the first issue premise. It definitely has more that's going to happen. They are sort of left in a dire situation, but you got to expect that out of an issue number 1. So we have this. Nope. Oh, actually, so I think there is a variant to this, but unfortunately we are out of them. People signed up for it after the fact, and we do pull boxes first. So there is a B cover to this out there if you're looking for all the covers.
My last one for the week is Punisher number 11. So a lot happens in this issue. One thing I've been looking forward to is the face-off between some of the Avengers and Punisher. So you've got characters like Captain America, Doctor Strange, Moon Knight, all going up against Punisher. Well, what I didn't realize was, I mean, we've got that team, and clearly Punisher's been possessed by something. You have Doctor Strange who comes in there and starts to try and pull out the thing that makes Punisher now, gives him his powers and all of that. It's a really interesting issue. It's, I'll say, this is one of the, I mean, this has been a very dark series. This is one of the darker issues of it, as since they've brought back Frank Castle's wife, she has been slowly trying to figure out, she's got missing memories and all of that. Well, in this one, she demands to know the truth about what has Frank Castle done in my name since I've not been around. And when she learns, she's not happy about it, and has a pretty shocking finale to this issue that I am very interested to see where it goes, because not looking good for Punisher in this. So very dark issue, but I think one of the most interesting, especially Captain America and Punisher, how they speak to each other as both military men. How Captain America gives him a lot of respect, but also definitely tries to call him down in a very interesting way. We also have a variant by Matteo Scalera.
Okay, so I read House of Slaughter issue. Oh, wrong one. I read House of Slaughter issue number 14. This was my favorite issue I've read in some time. A lot goes down in this issue. So, of course, you have it where Jace has been training, semi-training this new kid named Sonny, who went off from the group. They were in the woods. He got picked up by this woman, Jolie, who is from Jace's past, and she is part of the House of Butcher. And she's taken Sonny to the house. Well, this issue, Jace meets up with his old friend Jolie at a bar for them to discuss what's going on. And, you know, it makes you wonder, how do these two not know each other? They get into the whole past. Who are they to each other exactly? What is Jolie's beef with Jace? All that really interesting. And it's not just spoken, there's a lot of good dialogue between them, but you also get to see what they went through together and why Jolie feels like Jace kind of abandoned her. And you get to hear her final answer on, is she going to give Sunny back, or do they have other plans for Sunny? So just a good issue, not one to just jump in on. You had to
Yeah.
be reading it. But trust me, if you thought one or two of them was like, okay, this is good, but I want a little more, this is the issue. And so here are the variants. We have the Luckert variant. We have the Deladera variant. And then we have the Virgin versions of both of those. So the Luckert one is the 1 in 25. We're selling for $10. And the black and white Deladera is the 1 per store, which we are also selling for $10. All right, so that is us going over 10 books a piece that are coming out this week. So that's 20 of them and all their variants and incentives. But that's not all that's coming out. So other books that are coming out this week include Bishop War College issue number 3.
We also got Captain America Unforgiven, the Unforgiven one shot. I believe that is the final one of the Unforgiven story.
Yes, of the series of 3 one-shots. Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur number 5 is out this week.
We've got New Mutants Lethal Legion number 2.
Nightcrawlers number 3. That's the final one of that miniseries.
We've got Red Goblin number 3.
The X-Cellent number 2.
We got X-Force number 39.
Batgirls issue 17.
Like we talked about before, we have the Batman 357 facsimile blank second printing.
Black Adam issue number 10.
Catwoman number 54, which has another great David Nakayama cover.
Dceased War of the Undead Gods reaches its finale with issue number 8 this week.
Yes, we also have Static Shadow of Dakota number 3.
Wonder Woman 798 is out this week, heading towards that issue 800.
Yep. We have Chilling Adventure, Cult of that Wilkin Boy. Just a one-shot.
Yep. Darkwing Duck reaches issue number 4 already.
It feels like we just went over the issue number 1 for that.
They have not delayed that one at all.
We have Deja Thoris number 2.
Expanse gets another comic with The Dragon Tooth number 1.
We have Gunslinger Spawn at issue number 19.
Harrower hits number 3.
The hardest word to say.
I'll learn to say it eventually.
Hitomi reaches its finale, issue 5 of 5.
Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, issue 107.
We have the new Kyle Higgins book, No One, with issue number 2.
Yep. If I was going to read an 11th book, that would have been it. Sonic the Hedgehog, issue number 59.
We have TMNT, The Armageddon Game, The Alliance, number 6.
Walking Dead Deluxe, number 61.
And Exo Manowar, Unconquered, number 2.
So yeah, big week, a lot of books out. That's why we don't try to do every single one of them. We wouldn't film this video until like 3 days from now. Okay, so thank you for watching. And if you want to order any of these comics, we have these all available. You can order them right now at our website, infinityflux.net. You can also subscribe to comics if you just want to get a weekly subscription. You can also order upcoming covers. Anything you pre-order, you get 10% off. And once again, we very much appreciate it. Help keep our show going, help keep us in business, pay our workers and all that. So we will be back this Friday with our other shows, Comics from the Future, and our top comic picks in a flash, our shorter version where we just pick sort of the top ones to show really quickly. So if you're watching on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any of our videos. Thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.